Good morning. This is Pierre Laguerre here, your daily motivator, here to challenge, inspire, and motivate you. Today on episode 420, we're going to be talking about the asset that you are building. And, every one of us that actually are working a full-time job, we know that deep down we desire to run our own business. Everybody wants to be the boss. That's just a fact. And of course, when you get in sales, then you recognize you have complete control, or so you think. And eventually you recognize, wait a minute, I got to report back to somebody as to how well I'm doing. Nothing wrong with that, because when you get in sales, that's when you recognize, even though you are an asset to the company, you can just as quickly be put on the back burner as a liability. So why today am I talking to you about assets versus liabilities? The asset that you're building in a business, when you first start, it's a liability. What do I mean by that? First thing you're going to have to do is understand you're going to have to do personal development. You're going to have to go to school. You're going to have to learn some key things, right? And this is why, for example, with Robert Kiyosaki, he had a rich dad that taught him, hey, go ahead and study every part of the business. And every part of the business, of course, includes management, right? You have to understand how to lead a team. But also it includes the part of the team that's working on the product or services. The products are important. You understand also you need a legal aspect to the business, especially if you've got products that have been invented. You have inventions and such, they need patents, right? But beyond that, you now also have to understand your market. Who are you selling to? Who else owns a piece of that market? Who's your major competitor in that market? And this is why it's important before you go in business to sit down and do a business plan. In the coming week, I'll be talking more about a business plan. But the point here is this: what kind of asset are you building? Are you laying the right foundation for that asset? So follow with me here. You're building a business, and you need, of course, once you've got a product, you need marketing, you need beyond marketing, which is really the promotion aspect, right? The promotional aspect of the business. You have to go out there and do that. But before you even do any marketing, any advertising, you need to understand first your target market. You need to have done the market research. A lot of people want to jump out there without even understanding who their target market is. And here's something important. Just because there's a market, it may be a fad. You don't just jump into business and start going out there and doing something because there's a potential target market. And you think to yourself, well, here's my opportunity to actually sell in that space. Do you remember the beanies, right? The beanies, that was a fad. It went quick, and some people made lots of monies on it. But guess what's still selling? Baseball cards. Some of those fan cards, those things are still selling. Whereas beanies were a fad. So you have to understand the type of market that you're going into. But let's back up a little bit. We're talking about the asset that you're building. Today, you may be spending a lot of money, and there's a learning curve for every type of business that you're getting into. There is a time to study, understand the business, understand what it takes. But you know what? You can actually study while you are attracting customers. Meaning you can take the lesson right on the chin as you are putting out ads and attracting customers to the first level product that you're selling. So don't be afraid to step out there and say, okay, you know what? I've got my first product. I'm going to put it out there, and I'm going to see exactly how the market is reacting to it. Especially in today's world where you have Google and Facebook as two of the best platforms to get out on and leverage. But eventually, you've got to understand that an asset is going to put money in your pocket. And sorry to be sharing that this late in the podcast, but what people forget is if it's an asset, it's going to put money in your pocket. At first, your business, just like a child, is taking money from your pocket. It's costing you something. It's costing you you're going to have to put down money for knowledge, to acquire knowledge. And those costs really, some of them are soft costs. You're going to have to spend the time to study other businesses like yours, or like the business you want to do or get involved with. Point is, if you really want to build a good asset, something that produces hundreds of thousands and ultimately millions of dollars year after year, you're going to have to make sure you understand the need to put in place systems. We've talked about that before. You have to understand that you're going to put in place systems because you want to leverage your time, you want to leverage your money, you want to leverage everything that you're doing so that this asset can keep producing. Now, here's the kicker. If you've been running your business for 4 years and it's still taking money from your pocket, it's a liability. It may be time to shut it down. Now, of course, I'm taking this from a biblical standpoint where, there was a story where Jesus said, hey, listen, if you plant a tree and eventually the first year it didn't take, the second year still no fruit, the third year still no fruit, by the fourth year, if it doesn't yield fruit, it's time to cut it. I'll find exactly the reference for that for you, but at least the point to understand is you can't keep pouring money into something that's not making you money. You see, a lot of us, we want to say, yeah, that's the way it is. I'm just going to keep putting money into it. But the reason is because you have a blind hope that someday it will work. If you don't want to work on blind hope, you need to back up and set a plan. And a plan, like I said, is what I'm going to be talking about in the coming week. And even this week, I'll touch on it because it's important for you to understand what is the plan that I have to create something that becomes an asset that I can actually transfer from generation to generation. You see, if you're thinking of building a business just so you can live on Easy Street, you're way off. You're building something that can not only make you money now, but that can continue to grow. And I want you to take the example, the example of Trump. His father Joseph started his business, and eventually his son continued in the line of business. Now, he may be president of the U.S., but guess what? He's still involved in construction. That's the major business that his father started, and he continued with that. So I want you to start thinking about generational transfer of wealth. Don't just do something because it's going to benefit you right here and right now, and you forget about the folks to come behind you, your children and your grandchildren primarily. So this has been Pierre Laguerre, just calling you to think about that asset. Think about the foundation you're laying right now so that you can build a business that is worth transferring to your children and your grandchildren ultimately. Pierre Laguerre here, always there to challenge, inspire, and motivate you. I hope I've done that to some extent today. Please comment, let me know what you think, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Enjoy.